Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. Just wanted to film a quick video to show you guys how I use the Tombow brush pens. This is just one way to use them. I'm going to be using water for this particular technique instead of the blender pens that come with the markers. Now the Tombow brush pens are water-based markers, so I am using a sheet of watercolor paper which I've cut down to 4¼ by 5½. Just wanted to show you the stamp and die set that I will be using for this project. So this stamp set and die set is by American Crafts and Vicky Booten, and I'm going to be using this little flower right here. It's going to be simple stamping, and I'm going to be using my stamp press to do my stamping. So I'm going to place the flower down and just position it on my stamp press where I want it. Close the panel down, and now I'm going to use my ink, and I'm using the Heidi Swapp Archival Dye ink in brown to ink up the stamp. And the good thing about this stamp press is that if you don't get a perfect impression the first time, you can always stamp up, ink up the stamp again without having to worry about your paper moving, and then re-stamp it, which is what you're going to see me doing. Now this is watercolor paper, and it's a cold press 140-pound paper, and it took a couple times for me to stamp the image to get it just right. And you'll also see later on in a video where a few lines in my image did not stamp, so I used a fine liner to just fill the lines in with no problem. So here I'm showing you a mask that I made from the Inka Dinka Do masking paper. I stamped the flower and used the die cut it out, and I am just going to position this over the flower and then do some more stamping. And this is just a masking stamp technique. And this is going to make this first flower that I stamped look like it's in front of the other two flowers that I'll be stamping. So I'm just going to place that down over my image, and then I'll stamp over that. So I'm just wiping off my stamp, and I'm going to reposition my stamp where I want it on the image. And then I'm going to go ahead and ink it up and stamp. And then I'm also going to stamp another one on the other side there. And I'm not sure if it was the way I was pressing, or if it was due to the watercolor paper, or if it was due to the surface that I was working on. The table that I was working on with this project is a little wobbly, so I was thinking maybe that is why I didn't get a really clean stamp image. So I'm just going to wipe the stamp off again and go ahead and do my placement on the other side of the first flower that I stamped down. And I'm just going to be stamping the 3 flowers. And like I said, it's really simple and basic stamping that I'm doing. I really wanted to just focus more on how I color the flowers in for you guys. So as y'all can see, I had to stamp each flower at least twice to get a really good image. And you can see the movement. It's not my camera, it's actually the surface that I'm working on. It's just a little small, inexpensive table. It's kind of wobbly, so I'm going to peel that mask off, and that is the three flowers there, and as y'all can see, I'm not sure if you can see it, but there's a few little lines that don't connect, and I'm going to use my Marvila pen, fine liner pen in brown, and I'm just going to fill those lines in, and then I'll start coloring. So I'm going to take my paper off of the stamp press and just show you guys. You see those lines, they're not connected. I'm just going to fill those in. So I'm just going to move my stamping press and my ink out of the way, and then I'll zoom in, and we'll go ahead and get coloring. And as y'all can see, I kind of use that marker. It's a little bit darker than the ink that I stamped with, but you can't hardly tell. So I'm using the number 679. It's a purple color with the markers. And then I'm also using number 603, which is a little bit lighter. And you'll see when I'm coloring, these two colors really don't blend too well by themselves, but when I add the water to the image, they'll blend nicely. So I'm just going to start at the inner part of the petal and make that the darkest area, and I'm just making little flicking motions out towards the center of the petal, and then I'm going to start from the edge of the petal and do the same flicking up motion. And I'm intentionally leaving a space in between white, because that is going to be where my highlight is, or where maybe light is catching on the flower petal. So then I'm going to take this lighter purple color, and I'm going to start right at the end of where I left off with the dark purple. And I'm just going to flick that color in as well, leaving a little white. Then I'm going to take I think it's a number 8. It's like a little cheap watercolor brush by Royal and Langnickel. And I'm going to wet my brush, and then I am going to start in the middle of that petal where the highlight area is, and I'm just going to start brushing the water in and slowly fading those colors in together. So it's going to look more blended. It's going to look like the flower has a little bit of dimension to it and a highlight. So I'm just going to continue the same process until all the flowers are colored. I like doing this technique with water a little bit better than with the blender pen. I've tried both ways, and to me, I get a better blended effect when I use water versus the blender pen, even though that is water based as well. I don't know, but that is my opinion. And this is just really basic coloring, a really pretty much clean and simple type of a card. I'm going to use this stamp image to make a card, which I'll show you guys the finished card at the end of the video. Came out really cute. And you don't have to leave as much white in the center if you don't want to. It's all about your preference, but that is just the way I want it. I kind of wanted it to look like the flower petals are bending backward a little, so that's why I left so much lighter color in the center, but it's blending really pretty with the water. And I'll probably even film a video coloring with just the blender pen and show you guys how that technique looks. And all your results will depend on like what paper you use and how you color. And you can always go back and darken areas, and then you can bring more water in to lighten up areas. That is what I really like about this. And that's pretty much it. So I'm gonna finish this petal, and then I will show you guys the finished coloring. I have a really pretty rose in that same stamp set. I think I might do a video coloring that rose as well. So that's basically it, and I'm going to do the other two flowers off camera, and then I'll come back and show you guys that one. Here it is. And so I use that little fine liner pen to freehand draw a little line going under the flowers to kind of give it a little bit of grounding so it doesn't look like they're just floating. And then I'm going to cut the card down a little bit, and then I will layer it on some purple shimmer cardstock, as you can see. And this is the finished project. I added some ribbon, I added some Spectrum Noir sparkle pen, and I stamped a greeting thinking of you at the top. And this is a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2 top folding card. So the ribbon is by American Crafts. And those are the Tombow markers number 679 and 603 that I use for this project. And here's the Spectrum Noir sparkle pen, and this is the clear one. That is the Royal and Lang nickel brush number 8 that I use. It's a really cheap, from a cheap set from Walmart. I think I paid $4 or $5 for a whole set. And this is the fine liner that I use, the Le Pen, the Marvy Le Pen in brown. And this is my favorite brown ink pad by Heidi Swapp. It's an archival dye ink. This is the Hero Art Sentiment stamp set that I grabbed the sentiment from. And of course the Vicki Boutin and American Craft stamp and die set. I also used the Master's Touch watercolor pad, and like I said, this is the cold press 140-pound paper pad, and it was only $2.99 at Hobby Lobby. If you guys like this, please give me a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, please click the link below to subscribe. And thank you guys for tuning in. I will see you in my next video. Bye.